So it's been a while. I know, I'm sorry. It's been, I think, like 2 or 3 weeks now since my last video. I'm very sorry about that. I've been struggling with motivation. I'm not really sure why. It kind of just dropped for a while. But I'm hoping it's coming back now since I recently finished 2 drawings in a day, so that's an accomplishment for me, so I feel pretty proud about that. Uh, but I'm here. I'm hopefully back again. And I'm actually hoping to do more videos like this where I kind of just talk about more specific topics. This is going to be more scripted, so if it sounds like I'm reading from a script, it's because I am. I I can't even memorize a 2-minute song. I don't think I could memorize however long this script is going to be. It's like 3 pages, so yeah, I'm sorry. But I worked really hard on it, so I hope you all like it. And yeah, so but I'm here and I want to talk about the Winchester Mystery House. I was inspired by The Watcher talking about it. If you watch The Watcher, you know who I'm talking about. But it's by Shane Madej and Ryan Bagara. And I've been really into their channel recently. They're really fun. But yeah. But I found the story that they were talking about really interesting, and I've heard of the Winchester story before. I've heard the ghost stories and all. I believe Sam and Colby went to the Winchester Mystery House, but I could be wrong. Uh, I'd have to check on that, but yeah. So I just thought the whole story was really interesting, and I wanted to know more about it. So yeah, we're gonna learn about it today, and I learned also quite a few things I never would have thought. So we're going to talk about that today and hopefully have a good time while we do it. Also, if you hear me scream, or if I have to like cut out a part or anything, it may be due to a hornet. I am very nervous about this, but I'm worried about them getting inside because we've been having a lot of hornets' nests just showing up around the house. And I don't know what's going on with that. So, yeah, that's not fun. But yeah, okay, sorry. Back to the topic. I think I've mentioned this before, but I'm not really sure, but I am very interested in the paranormal. I wanted to be a paranormal investigator at one point. That was soon after I gave up wanting to be the Tooth Fairy when I was a kid, and I was a very strange kid. Honestly, just very weird. I really wanted to be the Tooth Fairy for some reason. But yeah, honestly, I'd still love to do paranormal investigation. Just, I don't know if I'd want to do it alone. So if anyone wants to come with me, feel free to, I guess. But one of the places I'd actually love to go and check out is the Winchester Mystery House. It's such a complex... Sorry, my voice cracked. It's such a complex building with so many rooms, and it's very, very... wow. Doors that lead to nowhere, stairs in places there really shouldn't be stairs. And if I remember right, there's some doors that also lead to some really steep drops outside the building. And as a little side note, in my script, in my script and notes and all, I actually mentioned this. A building in the town that I grew up in when I was really little had a door that just opened out into the air outside. It was like on the second or third floor. There was no like balcony or anything. It was just a door. If you went outside of it, one step outside, you'd be on the ground outside. Like, I don't know why it was there. I still don't really know. I don't know why they had that. It was really weird. But yeah, it just kind of reminded me of that. I'm pretty sure a lot of us have heard the story of the Winchester Mystery House. But I'll go ahead and retell it as a reminder, or in case anyone hasn't heard the story before. You can read the full timeline of events on the website. I'll have it linked in the description. So, Sarah Lockwood Parody, born in summer of 1839 in New Haven, Connecticut. Why is it so hard for me to say? She married William Wirt Winchester. He was the heir to the Winchester Repeating Arms Company on September 30th, 1862. Um, they only ever really had one kid. They had Annie Parody Winchester, but she was born July 12th, 1866, but sadly she only died about 5.5 weeks later due to marasmus. I actually had to look this up. I never heard of it before, but it's a protein disorder that made her unable to properly digest food, so she couldn't get the nutrients she needed and died of malnutrition. Which is a really horrible way to go, and I'm not laughing at the situation, I'm laughing at, like, I laugh when I get nervous or when I'm like, oh my god. Like when I'm just, wow, okay. That is really scary. And it must have been horrible for her family to just kind of see that happening. And I don't know if at the time, like if she was later diagnosed with it, like post-mortem, or if they knew while it was going on, hey, this is what's happening. I don't know if they would have been able to like figure that out back then because it was such a long time ago. So I guess, yeah, it was a really long time ago. I don't think they would have had the testing for that back then, but yeah, I just imagine seeing your child going through that and not knowing what's going on. Oh god. I I don't know how they got through that, to be honest. That's terrifying to me. Um, but that's not where her. A lot more happened after that. That's not where this ends at all. That's not where Sarah's struggles end, essentially. That's not where, she experiences more loss after that. But eventually in 1881, William Winchester died due to tuberculosis. That's also a hard word for me to say. And left Sarah as the owner of 50% of stock in the Winchester Repeating Arms Company. A few years... Why is it so hard for me to talk today? I'm sorry. A few years later, in 1885, in 1885, she moved to California, near San Jose. It was a nice two-story farmhouse, now known as the Winchester Mystery House. I almost said murder house. I don't think there were any murders there. I'm pretty sure there weren't. I didn't find any records of any, but who knows? Maybe they got away with it. That sounds like a murder mystery event name, though, and I really would want to go to it. I just think that'd be so much fun. Always wanted to go to one of those. But, okay. Sorry. Back onto the topic. The house was purchased in 1886, and that was also when the remodeling began. From 1890 to 1900, it went from a two-story farmhouse to a 7-story Victorian giant of a fucking house. I actually wonder who the hell cleaned that house and how. Like, that's so big, I think I'd just not. I don't know. Maybe she hired multiple people to go around and clean it. I would cry. I will also say that in 1893, America was hit hard by a years-long depression. We'll come back to this later, though. In 1906, the house was hit by an earthquake which destroyed the 7-story tower, and most of the 4th floor had to be demolished. Also, remember this as well. There's quite a bit to remember for later on. That must have been really frustrating for the builders, though, because, like, seriously, imagine working on a building project for years, and a whole chunk of it is just taken by Mother Nature. It wasn't long after this, around 4 years later, Sarah purchased a second home in not Alberton. And I think it's Atherton, to be close to Isabella. Her sister, so Isabella is her sister, and her niece, Daisy. She spent a lot of time there up until she died. She died September 5th, 1922, which ended 36 years of construction on the house. Now, to talk about the house itself, which is allegedly haunted and is now a major tourist attraction for lovers of the paranormal. The most known story is that Sarah was haunted by the spirits of those who were killed using the Winchester rifle. Why is it so hard for me to talk today? Which, little side note though, like, seriously, you'd think they'd haunt the people who actually killed them, not the family that owns the company that makes the rifles that were used, right? Again, we'll come back to that later, but it's just something I want you to think about. Like I said, there's a lot of things to remember here. The story says that she saw a psychic shortly after her husband's death, and was told to move out west, buy a home, and build nonstop. This was supposed to prevent the spirits from getting a hold of her and killing her, apparently. She would sleep in a different room every night and would take odd maze-like paths through her house to avoid getting caught by the ghosts. And remember that earthquake? Allegedly, Sarah Winchester took that as a sign from the spirits that she was too close to finishing. So she had the unfinished front half of her house boarded up. Now, I didn't really put this in my notes, I kind of just saw this. If the spirits were the ones who were after her, why would they, like, warn her, hey, if you don't finish this house, we're gonna get you? Aren't they trying to get her, like... Or is there, like, two different groups of spirits, one trying to help her out and one trying to get her? Like, is that... That's something I am now wondering about. Like, I didn't see anything about that, but I don't know. Like, one group of spirits that wanted to kill her and one group that wanted to, like, help her escape the other group of spirits? I don't know. Maybe I'm just not understanding fully. But yeah, so that's just one version of the story. However, wanna know something? She had no training in designing or building, but drew up the plans herself. Actually, the maze-like build of the house, according to another story, is due to her just not really knowing what the hell she was doing. She made a lot of mistakes and had the money to continue working on this project, and likely making lots more problems for herself and the builders. Also, her reserved nature, and not really going out, resulted in lots of speculation about what she was doing. In 1895, that was when it really started gaining attention. The February 24th, 1895 edition of the San Francisco Chronicler actually cemented the idea of the reason behind the construction being paranormal, or supernatural in some way. They reported that the sound of hammers never hushed, and that she believed if they did, she would die. And this story just really took off, picked up by a number of other newspapers in the state. However, this isn't true at all. The thing about the sound of hammers never hushing and that they would never stop and all that, no, that's actually not true. No. They stopped quite often, actually. She let them take the whole summer off due to the heat, which, honestly, good. Like, she did a good thing by doing that, I think. Because working on construction in the heat sounds like a horrible idea. Heat exhaustion and heat stroke are no joke. Didn't mean to rhyme. But this was actually found out through a letter she had written to her family where she said, and I will quote, "I became rather worn and tired out, and dismissed all the workmen to take such rest as I might through the winter." So I guess they also had the winter off, unless I'm misunderstanding that, but yeah. So the sound of hammers did quite stop, and apparently more often than you would think, I guess. The author of Ghostland, An American History in Haunted Places, Colin Dickey, believed that the rumors about it being supernatural were rooted in uncertainty of the time due to years-long depression that started in 1893. Remember how I said to remember that? Yep, here it is again. While some people thought this was her way of showing off her wealth, historians speculate, and I think they were being a bit optimistic here, but it is possible, because we don't really know a whole lot about her personality-wise, I guess. Historians speculate that she was trying to be kind in her own way by keeping locals employed to keep building the house, and just kind of keep paying them to do so. One historian, I don't really know how to say her last name, so I'm sorry if I messed this up or if I butcher it in any way. Jeanne Bone, or Boney. I'm gonna say Bone for now. If anyone knows how to pronounce that, please put in the comments. I would really appreciate it. But they said in 2017 This house in itself was her biggest social work of all. Actually, also, during her lifetime, the papers never mentioned that she was hiding from ghosts. Even the San Francisco Chronicler article I mentioned earlier only really mentioned the whole thing about the construction keeping her alive in passing. More often, she was described as an eccentric woman with too much money and probably way too much time. She actually had another building project she wanted to do, also. A whole medieval castle with a moat and drawbridge in California, though she never actually did it. When she died, there wasn't much about it in the Bay Area, and only her small circle of friends really mourned her. However, in her hometown of New Haven, the newspaper excitedly announced her roughly $1 million gift to the local hospital. Now, in today's money, that would be $18,102,797.62. That's a lot more than I was expecting it would be worth, but I feel like I really shouldn't be as surprised as I am. But when she died, per her will, most of her money went to charity, and whatever was left over went to her niece. Her other home that she really lived in, which, if she was hiding from spirits trying to kill her, you'd think she actually lived in, I don't know, the house that was built for the purpose of keeping her safe from the murderous spirits? But that house was auctioned off. The Winchester house was then owned by John H. Brown, someone who worked at a theme park and designed roller coasters. He got the house when it went up for rent after one of his inventions, the Backety-Back, what a name, honestly, it caused the death of a woman who was thrown from one of the cars. He quickly, after moving in, started playing up the oddness of the home. 2 years after Sarah Winchester died, that was when the paranormal stories really took hold. A bunch of newspapers started writing about the mansion having supernatural powers, which I don't really know where that came from. According to the newspaper Healdsburg Tribune, in 1924, there was a seance room that was dedicated to the spirit world, and she believed she could don any of these costumes and speak to the spirits of the characters of the area represented by the clothing. However, in Ghostland by Colin Dickey, who we mentioned earlier, Colin Dickey, it could be Colin Dickey, who we mentioned earlier, it's mentioned that the seance room was actually the gardener's private room. However, despite evidence to the contrary, the story of the Winchester Mystery House having been built due to paranormal beliefs got popular, and is now one of the most well-known stories about the house. However, despite evidence to the contrary, the story of the Winchester Mystery House having been built due to paranormal beliefs got popular, and is now the most well-known story about the house. This completely buries the actual story behind both the house and the woman who had it built. She is described by her lawyer, Samuel Lieb, as sane and clear-headed a woman as I have ever known, and also says she had a better grasp of business and financial affairs than most men. I didn't mean for it to be this long, but I will say real quick before I go, so I'm not trying to discredit any of the paranormal experiences that people have had there, and I'm not saying it's not haunted. I just don't believe this story that's been made the most popular about the Winchester Mystery House. I keep wanting to say murder house. I know that's not what it's called, but for some reason my brain is just immediately going to that, even though I know that there's probably not been any murders there, at least none reported, so yeah. But I am not trying to discredit anyone, in terms of what they experienced. But I do believe there could still be spirits, so I'm definitely not saying it's not haunted. The thing is, spirits don't have to stay where they died every time. Not all of them do. A lot of the time, actually, they can haunt places they liked when they were alive. Maybe a best friend's house, who they want to stick by and watch over, their favorite park or cafe or hotel, anywhere that to them is precious or holds a lot of great memories for them. So that's one thing. that could explain the paranormal experiences. Maybe there have been some people throughout time, even Mrs. Winchester herself, who loved the house and decided to spend their afterlife there. That could be a thing. Um, there is also something that's a little lesser known, I've noticed. The concept of egregores or egregores. I've heard it pronounced different ways, but it's so according to I have this pulled up right now. Theosophy wiki to the I cannot say that for some reason. To the according to the you know what I'm talking about. So an egregore is a group thought form. It can be created either intentionally or unintentionally and becomes an autonomous entity with the power to influence. So it's basically like when enough people believe that an entity exists, they kind of make it exist. It kind of forms from the thoughts and the beliefs and the energy that is being put out towards it. So I do believe that could be it as well. In some cases, maybe. Though I do think it is more likely that some people just really like the house, and when they die, they decide to spend their eternity there. And possibly, I also think that some things have been exaggerated, and some people maybe did fake some, like, events and things like that to try to draw more hype around the Winchester Mystery House. So, yeah. That's a thing. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of leave you guys on that, and I hope you buds have a great day or night, and sweet dreams. So I'll talk to you all in the next video. Bye!